yeah. Hey, 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 hey.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Morning Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check me out on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check us out at www.the110nation.com or check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. I got all kind of confused there for a minute. Glad to be here on this Thursday morning. Hopefully, get everybody on the right foot to start off this day. Say what, breaking news last night. We got to break this while we was on the show last night, and talk a little bit about it this morning. Is Lovie Smith, Buccaneers? What are you doing here? You're firing Lovie Smith. 2 seasons. First season went 2 and first season he went 2-14. This season they go 6-10. Buccaneers decide that they're going to go a different direction. Really caught, I think, probably even Lovie Smith, but they pretty much caught everybody by surprise. Black money came and went, and nobody even thought about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers parting ways with Coach Lovie Smith. So it was a shock when at 10:21 last night that the Buccaneers tweeted out the news that Lovie Smith was fired just after 2 seasons with the team. Smith's first season with the Buccaneers was awful as a talented roster sunk solo and went 2-14 and got the number 1 pick. But that pick turned into quarterback Jameis Winston, who helped the Bucs improve to a 6-10 season. Things were looking up for the Buccaneers and Smith. So it seemed. Really kind of surprised last night. I don't know. I was kind of, Lovie Smith, we talked a little bit about this last night. Lovie, even when he was let go from Chicago, they were 10-6. Granted, they finished 3rd in the division that season, but it was a tough season. That was when Chicago and Detroit were doing really good as well. And so, Detroit and Green Bay, I just really kind of surprised me that they decided that they were going in a different direction. I don't know. Sometimes you kind of just wonder what goes through ownership in the front office's head. Sometimes as Lovie Smith was doing good and finally getting his team back in the right direction. LeBron James's marketing group cuts ties with Johnny Manziel. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Manziel starts losing his ties with everybody. I think it's not even the Cleveland Browns fans. I don't think it's even just the Cleveland Browns front office themselves that is getting tired of Johnny Manziel and his anecdotes and everything that he's doing. I think we're getting to a point that sponsorships, agencies, everybody is starting to get tired of Johnny Manziel. I think at this point everybody's ready to start cutting themselves loose from ties with Johnny Manziel. A spokesman for LeBron James said the NBA star and has his marketing agreement with Manziel, the embattled Browns quarterback whose behavior has him on very shaky ground with his team and Cleveland fans. James and his associates at LRMR, longtime friends Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, and Randy Mims will no longer be working with Manziel after mutually agreeing to end their partnership. LRMR has been handling endorsement deals for Manziel since he got drafted into the NFL. Cleveland.com first reported the end of James' ties to Manziel, who missed Cleveland's season finale Sunday after he was spotted partying in Las Vegas over the weekend. Browns owner Jim Haslam said the 23-year-old Manziel missed a medical treatment as part of the mandatory concussion protocol he's following. Manziel was back at the team's facility Monday for exiting meetings, but he did not speak with the media. Carter told Cleveland.com that the decision to end the business relationship was due partly so Manziel could focus on personal life. I will continue to support and advise him as a friend, Carter said. However, because Johnny needs to focus on personal growth, the next phase of his career, and because LRMR continues to expand beyond marketing, we made the mutual decision that it is best to terminate our business relationship. You can't blame him. I mean, you can only help somebody so much. You can only try to get them in the right direction. You can only try to help them to develop, grow, and put themselves in the best financial situation. But if they're not willing to help themselves or at least be able to stay within what needs to be done, I mean, honestly, that's all you can really do. And Cleveland, tried, and and LRMR has definitely been trying to do their best to make sure that that they help Manziel grow, develop, and take care of business. But obviously, Manziel is not hit rock bottom yet. Obviously, Manziel still got ways to go before he has hit that point where he is going to finally get it. Finally go in the right direction, and it's really a shame. It's really heartening to see someone that had so much potential and had themselves in a position that looks everything could have been right there, and instead. And instead, he feels the partying and the drinking and everything else is too important. I guess I don't understand athletes and alcohol and drugs. I mean, you got Josh Gordon in the same boat out there in Cleveland. Was found himself suspended 20 games at this point, the entire season this year, last year, and even the year before, if I'm not mistaken. What I just can't imagine having that kind of money, or potentially be making that kind of money, to just say, I would rather be out partying, or I would rather be smoking weed, or I'd rather be drinking alcohol versus focus on continuing to make this kind of money. I mean, not everybody makes this kind of money. Not everybody gets the opportunity to make this kind of money. Not everybody has an opportunity to be, to be what they want to be, to play a sport for a living. I mean, I know it's not that simple, but yet again, it is. I mean, not everybody gets to play simply a game for a living. And I hate to label it that way. Like I said, it ain't that simple, but it is. I mean, you get the opportunity to play something that kids, teenagers, and young adults in the NCAA play for free. You get an opportunity to do it and be on the biggest stage, make millions doing it. And yet you would rather be partying it up, or you would rather be smoking weed, or you would rather be drinking than enjoy it. I mean, how does that not make more sense to play the game? Get to do what you spent your whole life growing up preparing yourself for. Make that money, and then okay, if once you get done, you want to go party. You might be a little old to do it, but if you want to go party, you want to go smoke. Then okay, that's your right at that point. You got millions on top of millions of dollars to go do whatever you want to do and enjoy the rest of your life. Why ruin an opportunity that not a lot of people get? There's too many people out there that would love to be sitting in that boat, would love to have that opportunity, would love to be sitting in Johnny Manziel's would love to be sitting in Johnny Manziel's shoes, and this man doesn't seem to care at all. Just forget it. I'm going to go and do what I want to do. I don't know, makes no sense to me. I just don't, I don't know. I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine finally having the opportunity of a lifetime and say, you know what, I don't care. I would just rather go party. That's how I want to spend my money. That's how I want to spend my life. I'm going to sacrifice my possibilities, my potential. I'm just going to crazy. I like I said, I don't get it. Calvin Johnson talking about retirement, nagging injuries. I think in part, I know he don't want to come out and say it, but I think in part it's got to do with outside of the nagging injuries had for the last couple of years. I think it's got in part to do with that he don't want to bounce around from team to team. He don't want to be that guy. But at the same time, the current situation, Matthew Stafford being the quarterback, just everything that's gone on in Detroit in the last handful of years. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't blame him saying, you know what, I don't want to play for nobody else. I don't want to be that receiver that bounces around. I've done put my body through enough physical damage trying to bring a championship to Detroit. I am just ready to call it quits. I have made my money. I have spread my, I have soiled my oats, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying that that's necessarily true, that this team's sorry state of the condition it's in has anything to do with his potential decision to retire, but I wouldn't blame him. I mean, that would be part of my thought process here, you know. we seem to be going backwards. We're in a league now that injuries just keep piling up. I just can't get past this nagging injury. It's limited my play over the last couple of years. So, I mean, would you blame him though? I mean, it's kind of what Barry Sanders did, and they're kind of comparing Calvin Johnson's potential retirement early decision the same as Barry Sanders, and you can't blame him. I mean, at least Detroit has made some attempts this time around with Calvin Johnson. I mean, we can remember back in the days of Barry Sanders where they didn't care. They didn't go out and get an offensive line for Barry Sanders, and they just pretty much said, Barry, either you do what you do, and we're going to hope for the best, or retire. And it's kind of what he did. He didn't want to go nowhere else. He decided in his best interest to, if Detroit is not going to help him out and build an offensive line, that he was just going to call it quits. And be a shame if Calvin Johnson leaves the game early. I would like to see them, make at least a serious run and maybe even make it into the Super Bowl. I'm not necessarily saying I'd be a fan of watching them win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that it would be nice to see the hard work that Calvin Johnson's put in be rewarded somehow, if it be a Super Bowl run or at least a nice deep run in the playoffs. That's just what I'm saying. Hall of Fame was announced yesterday. Ken Griffey Jr. record for most votes to get in the Hall of Fame. He got 437 out of the 440. Never has a player got such a high vote turnaround when it comes to getting in the Hall of Fame. But Ken Griffey and Mike Piazza. Griffey, on his first ballot, earned 99.3% of the vote, a total that surpasses Tom Seaver's record previously at 98.84 in 1992. Griffey just missed 3 ballots. Like I said, he got 437 of the 440 votes. 1,057 homers. Griffey was just one of those. There we go. Oh, Griffey was just one of those players that you had to like. I mean, quite simple. There was no way around it. There was not a way that you couldn't. There's no way that you couldn't like Ken Griffey. I mean, it was. I know I enjoyed growing up loving him, and I know this is not the right reason to like him, but I collected his baseball cards. I was, that was my point of my life when he was a rookie in his early days. That was the years I was really into collecting baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, and that's, at that point, and so I grew up in that era that, I was heavily into fantasy baseball. It's kind of, I was getting introduced to all that at that point in time. I mean, early 90s, early to mid 90s, Piazza, another player that I enjoyed watching. In his 4th Hall of Fame campaign, received 83% up from the 69.9% that left him outside of Cooperstown a year ago. The next highest vote totals belong to Jeff Bagwell, 71.6, Tim Raines, 69.8, Trevor Hoffman, 67.3. Some other notables: Kurt Schilling, 52.3, Edgar Martinez, 43.4, and Mike Messina, 43.0. Of course, you got to have the 75%. You need 75% of the votes to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds made a swing upward with the 44.3, still about 30% off, but that's up from that 36.8. With this new smaller voting panel and younger and more aggressive writers, we knew that we would see the PED era clouded players such as Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens start to receive more votes. Will we see them be able to get the votes before it's too late? I am still uncertain. And really, you kind of sit on both sides of the fence here. Because, yes, there's no doubt in our minds that Barry Bonds did what we think he did. But see, where the catch-22 is, there's no proof. And how can you tell somebody that they can't be in the Hall of Fame because we think you did steroids. We think that you cheated the game. Not that you admitted to it. Not that we have proof, but we think. Now, I used this example last night, and I don't think that it could be... I don't think I could use a better example. But I know what Barry Bonds looked like when he played for the Pirates. I know what he eventually looked like playing for the San Francisco Giants. Yes, there is a possibility that, and I know this because I have a photo ID of what I look like in October of a year, and then I had to get my driver's license redone in that February. So in a 4-month period, and I until recently kept both IDs in my wallet, and I still have the October, and this is a few years back, more than a few years back. As a matter of fact, I might need to check my driver's license to see if my driver's license is even still valid at this point. Thinking about it, is one of the things I don't think about checking. But I still have it in an old wallet. But in the 4-month period of time, I know one of the things people talk about is his size and his head, how much bigger it got. And you look at my picture from October to February, and the supplements I was taking, which they were all legal supplements. I mean, I could go to GNC or I was able to get them from Gold's Gym. I mean, it was just a supplement you got off the shelf to help, speed recovery, help strength, help mass, everything else. Nothing that, traditionally I would think would get you a band anyway. I mean, you just go get it at GNC, and I know you got a lot of athletes. Well, I bought it over-the-counter stuff. We know if you're coming up hot, you got more than over-the-counter stuff. But there was an extreme difference in the pictures. You could tell. So I know that there are possibilities that you can make yourself put on that size without taking roids. But we know the likelihood. We know that if they got that kind of money and they can pay for the secrecy, and they can pay for the top of the line product, that's what they're going to get. They're not going to dibble dabble around with something from GNC. that, is going to be possibly hit or miss, or whatever the case may be. They're trying to put themselves in an optimal position to perform at the highest level that they can, and with the fastest recovery time to give them the best strength. And so, yeah, they're not playing around with that stuff. If they are doing something. And so, with that being said, I know that there is a possibility that Barry Bonds took something other than steroids. But in the back of my mind, it's one of those things that, yeah, I'm not that stupid. Yes, I know what you did, but there's no proof. And what I said last night, this just kind of brings you back to the O.J. Simpson case. We all know O.J. did it, but without proof, he couldn't be convicted of it. If the glove did not fit, they had to acquit. And it's kind of the same thing in my book with Barry Bonds. Yeah, we all believe what we believe and think we know what we know and assume what we assume. But without any proof, how can you convict this man? How can you keep this man out of the Hall of Fame? I mean, the numbers he put up and the excitement he brought to this game and the home run chase, good God almighty, and what he was able to accomplish. I'm sorry, but we've had a lot of people come through baseball and do juice up and have come nowhere close to the numbers that Barry Bonds put up. So, I mean, even at this point, even if he did juice up, I don't know if I really would care, because not everybody is still able to do what Barry Bonds was able to do, even with that. But because of the fact that we have no proof, because of the fact that it is all an assumption, if I'm on that board, I gotta vote him in, because I have nothing else to prove otherwise that says that he don't belong in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, but I know there's a lot of veteran players, a lot of the old-time writers that is part of this board, the Writers Association of America, that would be very upset with me. But how am I going to vote to keep somebody out that we can never prove ever did roids? I mean, how? Alan Trammell and Mark McGwire, votes keep getting worse and worse. Alan Trammell with 40.9%. Mark McGwire 12.3%. Sammy Sosa only got 7%. Gary Sheffield 11.6%. Billy Wagner, a first timer, finished with 10.5%. So a lot of names out there that are not getting the recognition. And I understand that where Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire fell short. I mean, they finally opened up and admitted. I mean, there was no doubt in our mind what they did as well. And I think Mark McGwire possibly had a better shot of never admitting to what he did and getting in versus getting in at this point after opening up and admitting. And I know it's that saying, it's always better to tell the truth, but obviously in this case, it wasn't necessarily better to tell the truth, as Mark McGwire is still being punished for what he openly admitted to, and I know that sucks, but you did what you did. You finally let your conscience get the better of you. Barry Bonds, if he did what he did, obviously his conscience is good. I mean, he can deal with knowing that he cheated the game, and the truth never coming out. So, if that be the case, then I don't blame Barry Bonds. If the truth never comes out, and you go the rest of your life knowing what you did, and everybody else has got to have doubt, then more power to you. Last night on the courts, we had some good games last night, and want to run through those for you guys, to let you guys know, for those that missed the games last night, wasn't up late, as we had a few games running late. I know there was like 3 games still going on when I even, called it, got off the show last night, so I know that they were running late. But let's run through those scores real quick to let you guys know what went on in the I'm about to say WNBA, the NBA last night. The Clippers end up going on to beating Portland last night, 109-98 in Portland. Phoenix at home over the Charlotte Hornets, 111-102. Oklahoma City, they were up 56-36 at the half, and were able to hold on to 36 points. Obviously, Memphis had a better second half, scoring almost 60 points, getting 58 points. But Oklahoma City 112-94 over Memphis at home. Oklahoma City really stepping their game up, getting to be a lot better. I just still don't see them winning a championship. I'm sorry, but 2 guys just ain't enough in the NBA. Too many teams are getting to be too deep. Either they're going with the big 3 concept, where you have 3 superstars and a supporting cast, or you have teams like San Antonio, Golden State, that just have a very deep, really good team. And as fun as it is to watch Oklahoma City, and it is, as much as people want to get their hopes up that Oklahoma City will go over that hump, I just, to me, their best run is when they had James Harden on the team. Not that I think James Harden is this great team, but they had a really good, deep team to include 6th Man of the Year, James Harden. That the team is kind of depleted with people wanting the contracts they're wanting, and Westbrook and Durant being greedy. And I know that it's easy to sit here and say that, to be in the outside man in, but I play to win. I don't play for, when I play the sport, obviously, I didn't play for the money when I was young anyway, but to me, I hate losing. I've told the stories that I've put my foot through a wall losing the Tecmo Bowl. I absolutely positively hate to lose. And so I'm going to, try to do whatever I can to ensure that I'm on a winning team. And so therefore, if I'm not taking the max contract so we can have a better roster and use my endorsements as a supplement to the money that Kevin Durant was making before he even got his new contract is beyond ridiculous. And Westbrook and the commercials and everything else, I don't get why you're not understanding why you guys are not winning a championship and can't get a team built around you. With the next breath, give me more money. I want max contracts. That tells you the mindset right there. That lets me know right now that these guys are not serious about wanting to win a championship. Yes, I'm sure they would like to win a championship. And yes, they're going to give the best effort they can on the court. But if you are willing to put your needs or your wants in front of everybody else and be focused on making sure that your pockets are as fat as possible versus worrying about trying to build a team around you that can win a championship, I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry, but I don't. Not every team is willing to go over the budget. Not every team is willing to spend the money. I think that's my only knock with LeBron James. You're worried about these max contracts, and obviously, LeBron did it smart and only did a couple-year contract, but that's because he's trying to max out the next, once the TV deal goes in and the salary cap goes up. But not every team is willing to go over and pay that luxury tax like Cleveland is, and going all in for a championship. And I can only imagine how far that the Oklahoma City Thunder would have to go over, and how much of a luxury tax they would be paying when you got these two guys soaking up so much of your salary cap. But I don't get it. You know, you hear players in one sentence talk about, I played this game to win a championship. You know, the greatest prize is holding up the trophy. And the next sentence, like I said, pay me everything I can get paid. Instead of worrying about filling this roster up with a bunch of talented players, pay me. And I don't understand it. And just like I don't understand Memphis, one game they could put on a hell of a performance and be competitive, and then it's like the next night they don't show up and they lose by 20, 30 points. Memphis all over the place this season, and I'm not understanding what has this team playing like this. But they're just simply all over the place, and you can see by watching last night's games. After I got off the show, it was on, I believe ESPN, and you could see the frustration. You could see the aggravation. You could see the short temper of the team, and this team that is, for the last handful of years, looked like it was getting better and putting itself in a position to get farther in the playoffs. I mean, they're making the playoffs, but they lose in the first round or lose in the second round, and you eventually think that, okay, this team's been together, and they've tweaked a few pieces. But they got to get better. They got to go deeper. And then you walk into the season, and they're all over the place, up and down, all around. It don't make no sense. Denver goes into Minnesota, wins 78-74. Dallas traveled into New Orleans, wins 100-91. Not a big surprise on that one. Another not big surprise is San Antonio at home, all over Utah, 123 to 98 over Utah. And this San Antonio team, 31-6, matched their best start, now 21-0 at home. It amazes me because they don't get the attention, and I'm about to rip off some numbers and explain what I'm talking about. This. When I talk about deep teams, they might not have super. And some people would like to refer to Tim Duncan as a superstar, Kawhi Leonard as a superstar, and I'm not saying that. Excuse me, they're not superstars. I don't label them. I think they're all-star players, and Tim Duncan at one point in time would have been considered a superstar to me, but to me, his role now, he is just an all-star, one of the best, a legend. I would rather go with legend at this point than call Tim Duncan a superstar. But this team is so deep. Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Patty Mills, who didn't have a good game last night, Danny Green, Manel Ginobili. You got Tony Parker, who did not play last night. LaMarcus Aldridge didn't play last night. Coach's decision, and yet they still managed to win by about 25 points. But another balanced attack, when you got 3, 6, 8 players in double digits, and you have nobody over 25 minutes. I mean, Tim Duncan played the most last night at 25 minutes, just short of 26 minutes. That tells you that this team shot 60.5%, 42% from downtown. Yeah, free throws, they could have done a little better, but they only shot 13 free throws, 10 of 13. But they you got 38 rebounds, out-rebounding them by 4. You got a well-balanced team here. You got a deep team. And it's funny because this Golden State run is taking all the pressure off San Antonio. Not that San Antonio is feeling pressure, but there is absolutely positively no pressure at all on what San Antonio is doing. There's no, well, can they go 73-9? Can they, do this? Can they do that? Because everybody is focused on it, and it's not to take away from Golden State. They 24-0 start, 33-2 or whatever they are at this point. A very historic run, 34-2, I think. So, rightfully so, they're getting the attention, but because of that, the run that San Antonio is going on, 31-6, and what they're accomplishing out in the West as well, is remarkable and is getting no attention and is making it where these guys are able to have fun. And I'm sure Golden State is having fun, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of pressure because the fans want to know, can they beat that 72-10 mark that the Chicago Bulls set back in 95 and 96? Can they repeat as champions? Early in the season, how far can they go undefeated? San Antonio's not had that pressure. They've been able to, you see these guys on the sideline cutting up, having a great time, and still putting up the performances they have. Popovich being Popovich. So, it's got to be a relief for the San Antonio team to be able to be where they're at. Continue to put up the performances that they're putting up, and at the same time, no pressure, and they're keeping Golden State on their toes. I mean, at some point in the season, I'm sure Golden State would be like, would like to be like, let's relax. Let's chill. We got we got home court throughout. We got this or we got that. And even at this point, in order to make sure they secure everything, they can't back off. They can't slow down. And that's another one of those things that the pressure keeps staying on top of Golden State. And I think that I think San Antonio enjoys the role that they're playing right now. I think that they couldn't ask for a better situation than where they're at right now to be the number 2 team, not only in the Western Conference, but the number 2 team, period, in the NBA. And really just no focus on them. They're just able to continue to fly underneath the radar and continue doing what they're doing, and I'm sure that this will pay dividends when we get to the end of the season, and we're in the playoffs, and Golden State is not as fresh as San Antonio, because we know San Antonio does an excellent job of, especially with their veterans, rotating that roster. And giving their players full rest, while we're watching Golden State with this historic run, they're pedal to the metal. I mean, most teams would be sitting Steph Curry with the nagging shin injury that he has going on, and try to get him more rest and try to get him ready to go for the playoffs, even though we're only about halfway through the season. And more specifically, because we're halfway through the season, and take their chances and see how many games they can go without him, so they can get him rested and still be effective and still win games. We got confidence they can win games. They might not win as many games, but instead of giving him the proper rest and getting themselves ready for a playoff run that is going to be coming up, they are still putting their foot down on everybody's throats and trying to continue this historic run. And that to me, that's when we get to the end of the season, don't be surprised that this Golden State team falls short. And I'm not even referring to just against Cleveland. And if Cleveland had the opportunity to play Golden State again, I think it would be a close battle, and I think it could go either way. I'm afraid of Cleveland having to play San Antonio. That might not turn out the way that that won't turn out the way that I would hope it would turn out, being a Cleveland Cavalier fan. So, I tell you what, that San Antonio team, as deadly as Golden State has been, that San Antonio team really scares me. Tonight on the hardwood, we got Atlanta traveling to Philadelphia. Give Atlanta an opportunity to kind of get a give me game, I guess, and feel good morale, build the morale in this game. Boston and Chicago, a classic. This should be fun to watch tonight in Chicago. Utah traveling to Houston, and then you got the Lakers versus Sacramento. Unfortunately, the late game will probably be a lopsided game. Really a shame, because this would have been the Lakers of the old. This would have been or Lakers of at least a couple years back. At least would have been a fun game to watch, especially with this young, talented Sacramento team as they work on improving themselves and getting themselves ready for try to get themselves worked into a playoff position, sitting about the 10th or 11th seed. Last night on the ice, we had Carolina travel to Vancouver. Vancouver wins 3-2. Toronto traveled to Anaheim. Toronto wins 4-0. St. Louis in Colorado. Colorado wins in overtime 4-3. Chicago at home over Pittsburgh 3-1, and Montreal at home over New Jersey 2-1 on the ice. Tonight's on the ice, we got some great games. We got Washington with this run that they're making, going against the Islanders. Florida takes their 10-game win streak into Ottawa. You got Philadelphia traveling to Minnesota, Winnipeg traveling to Dallas, Arizona at Calgary, Toronto in Los Angeles, and Detroit headed to San Jose. A lot of great games on the ice today. Can they? Can Florida make it 11 games in a row? I'll tell you what, we talked about this Tuesday night. I don't know which one is more impressive. And Izzo said that the Florida run, because nobody was expecting it. And you got Yager, 42 years old, doing some things that nobody thought he was going to do. But I don't know which one impresses me more. The Washington run. Here we are, 39 games in, and they're the only team with single-digit losses, and I say this, and it's not even like they're at 9. It's not like they're on the verge. And me, with the loophole, well, they don't even have double-digit losses. Yeah, they have 9. No, they only got 7 losses. To me, that's crazy. To know this deep in a run, and they could lose the next 3 games before they even hit double-digit. Going against the Islanders ought to be a good game tonight, as Islanders second place in the Metropolitan Division. 12 points back, but they are the number 2 team out there. They are 5-5 in the last 10 games, while Washington's gone 8-1-1. But very impressive. Overall, the best team in hockey right now is 61 points. But definitely going to keep an eye on that in the Ottawa game. Ottawa sitting 19-15-6, 44 points, 8 points out of first place behind Florida in the Atlantic. Can Florida continue this run? Can they continue going in the right direction and keep putting points on that board and wins and keep the streak alive? It is one of those things that you got to make this run. And we watched Montreal start off the season with the historic run they made. And they've already managed to fall to second in the Atlantic Division. They've already fallen, third place, tied for third, in the Eastern Conference. So, it's one of those things that while you got the opportunity to make the run, and you got an opportunity to distance yourself or put yourself as far out as possible, you got to make that run, and that's obviously what Florida is doing, and they got to hope that they continue to do the same thing and continue this historic run. So they're playoff time and have an opportunity before someone else runs them out of town, like Montreal is being run down, and everybody's starting to catch up and put them in their rear mirror. Don't forget. Tonight, the 110 Nation Sports Show kicks off at 9 o'clock. Looking forward to another great episode. Got a lot of things on my mind that we're going to be talking about tonight. Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 110 Nation Sports Show. Don't forget tomorrow morning as well. We got another edition of the 110 Nation Morning Show as we're on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Next Thursday, we were supposed to have the return of the Racing with Big Sweats. Medical issues came up. Has Steve Billmeyer, our host for that show, sidelined for another week. But next Thursday, January 14th, Racing with Big Sweat will be making his return Thursday night, 9 p.m. Then don't forget, Sunday nights, 9 p.m., Midwest Horsepower Hour, all times, Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys check that out. Like I said, don't forget, you could hit me up on Twitter, at CJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Also, our fan pages, mine, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation's fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check us out at www.the110nation.com or check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. For all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Glad to have an opportunity to talk to you guys this morning. Hopefully get you guys off on the right foot. Got you guys updated on the latest going on in the sporting world. Like I said, looking forward to be back here bright-eyed, bushy-tailed tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You guys have a great day. Tune in tonight for some more great sports talk, and you guys have a great day.